Hello everyone, my name is Omega the Real, or Omega Fun to keep it short and simple.
And I'm here too, for some reason.
And the people love Bumblebee, let's just get that straight. Since the dawn of time, he's been this franchise's go-to kid appeal character, save for a handful of times, but when you think Yellow Robot Buddy to the human protagonist, you're thinking of someone like Bumblebee and not Cheetor. He's basically synonymous with the brand's image as one of the most popular characters in Transformers history, being just a silly little goober. Except for that one time in the Bayverse. I mean, those 2 times. Oh man, his kill count doesn't stop, does it? But out of all the different versions of Bee throughout the last almost 41 years, one of my favorite iterations has to be his look in the Bumblebee movie. It's like Travis Knight grabbed a blender and shoved Bee's live action look with G1 and cooked the greatest design guy has ever had. I don't know, something about this look is just so good to me. Maybe it's that Bayverse DNA mixed in with that G1 alt mode that just gives me the neuron activation I need.
I'm surprised you made it this far without complaining because...
Unfortunately, the Bumblebee movie had a severe case of only having prototype designs to use for their toys, which made a lot of the early era Studio Series figures look trashy, and made that whole kids line generally inaccurate, all things considered. Over time, the figures that released after the movie gradually improved due to Hasbro actually being able to use the official models from the films, which helped stop people complaining about inaccuracy, and instead made people complain about all the stuff they made up when they couldn't pull from source materials. Soundwave. But after nearly 7 years after the release of the Bumblebee movie, Hasbro finally gave this design justice, because today we're going to be taking a look at the almost brand new, sorry, I've had this script for like 2 months and I've only got to it now, my bad, and improved Transformers Studio Series 116 Deluxe BBM Bumblebee.
It's yet another Bumblebee. How much more excited can we get about these?
Before we go right in, there's quite a bit more lore that I need to elaborate on surrounding this release, because like I said before, this isn't the first time we're getting this design. Back in the very first wave of Studio Series, we were given SS-18 Bumblebee, and wow, this thing is dated to put it nicely.
If you ever wondered to yourself if the toys are getting any better, stop wondering that.
But concerning 116, this isn't even the first time Hasbro's released updated figures in the Studio Series line, with the most prominent one coming to mind being the Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime, which was okay, but not great, so Hasbro reworked the mold for the 2007 film version, and now I don't understand why we even bothered with Revenge of the Fallen in the first place. So for Hasbro, instead of releasing this ungodly mold for the 4th time, they instead created Bee here with an entirely new mold built from the ground up. Sorta.
In the end, everything leads back to the Bayverse.
Since 2017, Hasbro's been using the same skeleton for the live-action Bumblebee figures, starting with the Last Night Bumblebee.
The second one, not the poopy repeat.
And while it gets the job done, it hasn't always done a great job at being an enjoyable toy. But despite using the same formula from before, SS-116 here goes above and beyond. Paint and sculpt on Bee here is fantastic. With Studio Series, you're meant to expect some pretty damn good mechanical detail, and Bee here definitely delivers on that note. He looks pretty damn accurate to a certain degree before you remember this has to exist as a physical object. This mold skeleton has always had some extra baggage, more on the Beetles and the Camaros, but I actually like to think 116 cleans it up the best. While SS-100 does have a much flatter backpack, it comes at a cost of being pretty flimsy. 116 doesn't have this flimsiness to him, giving him a more solidified feel to him. Although these door wings do kind of make the backpack a little bit more complicated, they do fold away to give a more secure and accurate look to Bee here instead of having the door wings that concept art had.
I guess that was the first step away from Bayverse, but did they have to keep his weirdly shaped head?
Everything else on details though is nothing but all around solid. Compared to the original, it isn't even a fair comparison to make. The paint on the other hand, we still haven't figured that out.
And at this point, we never will.
Paint matching has always been a difficult thing to get right for Transformers, especially on yellow figures, and Bumblebee here unfortunately falls victim to that to a certain extent. It isn't horribly off color, but it's still visible to the naked eye, with his calves and shoulders being the best examples of this. But holding him in hand and getting to mess around with him, it really isn't that bad. Granted, it's an issue regardless, but it's somehow not the worst it could be. Speaking of that, however, the paint on Bee is really well applied, with only a few spots I actually have issue with. His shoulders look like they needed just a few more layers, and his calves look freshly sprayed on, but besides that, the paint is very well applied. Finally, we have another Studio Series release that feels worth the price of admission. One final note I do want to say about paint is not really focused on paint specifically, but the molded plastic they used. And that basically is that the shade of gray they use is a very popping shade of gray. Promotional images do not showcase how bright this thing is in person.
You know, I wish I had something snarky to say here, but hats off to Hasbro for being competent enough to not mess this up.
Articulation on 116 is incredible and concerning. Bumblebee has a fantastic amount of range that both surpasses the original and surprises me, but that comes at the cost of an unfortunate time bomb.
Oh, we were doing so good, weren't we? Oh well, time for the negativity.
Bumblebee utilizes a lot of ball joints, a lot more than I was actually expecting, which explains this incredible range this guy has. But these ball joints have a really big flaw, being that over time with excessive play, they become loose and can cause figures to become basically unplayable. For now, his joints feel fine, but I cannot guarantee these hold up to the test of time, especially the hips. But I'm sure there's a fix out there to retighten ball joints with like floor polish or something. But I shouldn't have to DIY my toys in order to keep enjoying them. Honestly, the use of ball joints kind of confuses me because Hasbro already proved they can make a deluxe Bumblebee without using them, case in point SS100, but I can only guess they just wanted to test something different, in which I can't really blame them for that, but the longevity of this figure can only be answered with time, so...
Surprise, motherfucker, this is the missile guidance system, bitch. We clown in this motherfucker. I'm about to show you why the US doesn't have free healthcare. Splash, bitch.
Hasbro could have absolutely taken the lazy route with this. Hell, I would have, but to my surprise, I think they're better than that. Accessories for Bumblebee here are actually the same exact ones that came with SS100, but remolded to fit the look of this figure. I'm actually shocked these aren't the same pieces, because if you didn't know, you would assume these are the exact same weapons, just shared between two releases, but nope, 100% new. That's pretty sick.
You know, if the reason we got a whole wave of repaints and slight remolds was to get a B as impressive as this, I'm not as upset then.
For starters, B comes with his Gatling gun. I swear this has an actual name other than this, but Gatling gun for now, I guess. Sticks onto his hand just like his predecessor, and the gun is actually painted this time around instead of being one-point color, which only helps to make this guy pop even more. He's also got this arm blade from the movie, but this time it's actually painted. My SS100 only looks like this because I hated how cheap the original one looked and I need that thing to pop. The weapons look great put together with him, but there's definitely a question popping into mind that needs answering. Are the weapons backwards compatible? Well, yes and no. The gun works with both figures, but on SS100 looks out of place, and SS116 shouldn't have to lower his stand. But the blades are surprisingly not compatible with one another. You have to use the blade that came with the Bumblebee, because SS100 is too loose on SS116, and SS116 is too tight to fit on it. It sounds confusing, but they don't work with each other. Clear as day.
We seem to love making comparisons with old figures, huh? Nostalgia or unnecessary callbacks? Call it.
I feel like the comparisons are necessary though. A lot of people want to know what's improved, what's made worse, and what else they could have added.
Okay, but you've been making comparisons with the wrong design this whole review, so where's the original Studio Series toy since you want to make comparisons so bad?
I gave it away to a friend. But hey, I remember that thing like the back of my hand and how absolutely abysmal it was to handle, okay? I'm not going off of just straight nonsense.
I don't know whether to call you hypocritical or ignorant, but really neither of those work.
Finishing off Robot Mode size comparisons, he's the same height as SS100, surprising nobody. He's gonna scale with your Knightverse collection, obviously, that's what he was made for, but if you're gonna put him with a Vayverse shelf or TF1 shelf, why?
Some people are just wired that way. Who are we to judge them?
Overall, I'm extremely impressed with Bumblebee here. I was always holding out some hope for this guy just because of how different he was from the original, and I'm happy to say my hope paid off. SS116 is an incredible release, maybe even one of the best Bumblebee toys we ever put to market.
Wow, Omega throwing out some big buzzwords there, aren't you? Buzz, get it? Because he's a bee?
Shut up. I do generally mean that. He's extremely solid, poses fantastically, paints adequately superb, and the details are marvelous. Really, my only complaints are going to the ball joints. But if it weren't for that, this would have been a solid 10, one of the very few 10s I've ever given. But, you know, of course, nothing's perfect, but even with his flaws, he's still incredible.
Oh yeah, huh? 10 out of 10, huh? Does all that high praise go to his transformation as well?
It could be worse. It could be so much worse. But the transformation for Bumblebee here is far from the worst he's had. Looking at you, Dark of the Moon Bee, you suck so much balls. Instead of going for an original route like the original SS took, this instead takes huge inspiration from that 2017 Deluxe Skeleton. If I try to explain it step by step, it's gonna sound like every other Bumblebee toy they've released in this style, but like, that is the honest truth. This is literally that style of Bee, but actually good this time. It's really just a bunch of making sure panels line up correctly, and when you've done about 3 minutes of crumpling this thing into a ball, you get his vehicle mode.
Officially licensed too. Don't forget the license.
It's a pretty cute alt mode for Bee, pandering for G1 aside. Would I call the transformation fun though? Not entirely. It's definitely leaning towards Dark of the Moon Bee wanting to gouge my own eyeballs out by pressing them in with my thumbs, more than Rise of the Bee, Sunshine, and Rainbows. From what I'm reading though off of TF Wiki, which may or may not be true, I have no idea, but supposedly the shell of the beetle here is the exact same parts used on the original, just Frankensteined onto this version to create a brand new transformation. I have no idea if that's true or not, but if someone wants to go fact check that, I am more than happy to hear if that's true or not, because that is pretty sick.
And we were seeing Hasbro wasn't that lazy. but way too freaking soon.
Do I recommend Bumblebee though? I don't know if you can tell from the vibe of the entire video, but I absolutely, with 100% confidence, recommend you go out and look for this figure. Seriously, you're gonna be surprised by how impressive this is and how second chances can really make a difference.
Did you just try and turn this review into some kind of empowering message? We literally talk about toys, what more could there be to it?
All I'm saying is to go from a clunky, inaccurate mess to a solid, incredible looking piece of art is definitely something to commemorate.
Enough with the messages though. People are here for toys, not poetry.
And with that, that is basically wrapped up the review. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm aware of the upload schedule. I'm fixing it, you know, slowly but surely, uploading more. We'll get back to what we used to be, and we'll be awesome. All right, thank you all so much for watching. What did you guys think of this figure? Did you guys think it was a good enough repaint, reuse of the mold? Was it cool? Or do you think it still sucks and needs another redo? Let me know. I'd be interested to see what you guys think about this thing, because I haven't really seen anything else but positive affirmations for this. So, you know, sound off in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Omega, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.